Have you ever had one of those quiet mornings where everything around you is still and a question crosses your mind? How much time do I really have left? Not in a fearful way, but in a calm, clear, honest way. You think about the friends you've lost, the ones who slowed down and never bounced back. And then you think about others, people your age, even older, who are still walking, laughing, living. And you wonder, what makes the difference? It's not just about genetics. It's not just about luck. There are certain patterns, small details in how we live, move, think, and feel that quietly predict how long and how well we're likely to live after 70. Joan, 76, started thinking about this after a friend's sudden fall. They were the same age, same background, but while her friend had been slowing down for years, Joan still walked her dog every morning and cooked her own meals. Was it just chance or something else? Science is beginning to answer that question. And the truth is, there are specific signs, research-backed clues that quietly predict longevity. You don't need expensive tests or fancy trackers. You just need to know what to notice. In this video, we'll go through 7 signs that reveal how long you may live after 70, according to science. Each one is simple, practical, and deeply connected to how your body and mind are really doing. And as we go through them, you might discover that you're doing better than you thought. Or you might notice one small thing that's quietly holding you back, and that can still be changed. Let's start with one of the strongest predictors of all. Something so simple, you do it every day without thinking. Let's talk about your walking speed. Let's talk about something you probably don't think about much: how fast you walk. For years, Joan had her morning routine, a quiet stroll around the neighborhood, stopping to chat with neighbors, pausing to admire the flowers. But one day, she noticed something odd. Her usual route was taking longer. Not because she added distance, but because she was moving slower. She hadn't noticed it until then. But now that she saw it, she couldn't stop thinking about it. And when she mentioned it to her doctor, he smiled and said, "That's actually one of the best questions you could be asking, because your walking speed is one of the strongest predictors of how long you'll live." According to multiple studies, including large-scale research from the Journal of the American Medical Association, older adults who walk faster tend to live longer. Not because speed itself is magic, but because it reflects the health of your heart, lungs, muscles, brain, and coordination all at once. When you walk, your entire body is involved. So if your walking speed drops significantly, it could mean your body is under stress. It might be a sign of early frailty, muscle loss, or even changes in brain function. Here's what the science shows. Seniors who walk at 1 meter per second or faster, that's about 2.2 miles per hour, tend to live significantly longer than those who walk slower. A natural, confident walking pace is associated with lower risk of heart disease, dementia, and even early mortality. But don't worry, you don't need a stopwatch to figure this out. Just pay attention. Do you struggle to keep pace with your peers? Do people often wait for you to catch up? Do you feel unsteady or avoid uneven surfaces? These are quiet clues. The good news? It's not permanent. Walking speed can be improved with practice, intention, and strength-building exercises. Try walking for 10 to 15 minutes a day, swinging your arms gently. Focus on a natural pace, not rushing but not dragging. And if you feel wobbly, add balance exercises like standing on one foot or heel to toe, walking in your hallway. Joan started adding a second walk in the evening, just a loop around the block. After 2 weeks, she felt steadier, more in control, and more confident, not just on the sidewalk, but in her own aging. Because how you move through the world says a lot about how long you'll stay in it. Now let's shift to something higher up, your grip. You may not think your hands have much to say about your future, but science says otherwise. Now, let's talk about something you might not expect, your grip. Frank had always had strong hands. He'd built things, fixed things, and carried groceries with one arm. But lately, opening jars had become a struggle. Turning doorknobs felt awkward. And one afternoon, he nearly dropped a pan just moving it from the stove to the sink. He laughed it off at first. "Must be getting old," he said. But when it kept happening, he started to wonder, is this just weakness or something more? Here's what science says. Grip strength is one of the most powerful predictors of longevity, especially after 70. In fact, some researchers call it a biological marker of how well your body is aging. Why? Because your grip reflects more than just hand strength. It's a sign of your muscle mass, nervous system function, cardiovascular health, and overall physical resilience. In large studies, people with stronger grip strength tend to live longer, recover better from illness, and experience fewer complications from surgery or injury. In other words, how well you can hold on may reflect how well your body can hold on to life. But how do you know if your grip is weakening? You might notice difficulty opening jars or bottles, trouble turning keys and locks, hands tiring quickly when cooking, writing, or gardening, more frequent drops or slips while holding objects. None of these signs mean you're doomed. They just mean it's time to gently rebuild. The good news? Grip strength can be improved. No gym required. Try this. Keep a soft stress ball or rolled up sock nearby. Squeeze it slowly and firmly for 3 to 5 seconds, then release. Do this 10 to 15 times a day. Use a small hand gripper device or even a tennis ball. Practice lifting a light grocery bag by the handles and holding it for 30 seconds. And most importantly, keep using your hands. Knead dough, garden, fold laundry, play cards. Use your hands in ways that challenge them, but don't strain them. Frank started doing simple hand squeezes during commercials. Within a few weeks, he felt steadier holding his coffee mug. And the day he opened a new jar of pickles without asking for help, he smiled to himself like he'd won a gold medal. Because sometimes small strength means big independence. Next, let's move from the hands to the heart. Not the organ, but the outlook. Because how you feel about life itself may quietly shape how long it lasts. Let's take a moment to look inward, towards something you can't measure with a tape or a timer, but that science says may predict how long you'll live just as powerfully. Your outlook. Sylvia had always been a realist. She didn't like false cheer. She told it like it was. But in recent years, she noticed that realism had turned into something heavier. She found herself expecting the worst, assuming people didn't really want her around, saying things like, "At my age, what's the point?" even when she smiled. And she didn't realize it, but those quiet thoughts were shaping her body as much as her mood. Because science has confirmed something extraordinary. Optimism is a significant predictor of longevity. In one major study from Harvard, researchers followed thousands of people over decades and found that those who described themselves as optimistic lived up to 15% longer than those who didn't. Even when adjusting for other health factors, the pattern held: positive outlook equals longer life. But what does that really mean? It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's not fake smiles or blind positivity. It's the willingness to believe that good things are still possible, that challenges can be overcome, that you still matter, that tomorrow might be worth showing up for. This kind of thinking affects your immune system, your heart health, your willingness to take care of yourself, and even your brain's resilience to stress. When you believe your life still has meaning, you're more likely to eat well, move your body, stay connected, and plan for the future. So what if you haven't felt optimistic in a while? You're not broken, you're just tired. And optimism can be rebuilt gently. Try this. Each morning, write down one thing you're looking forward to. Even something small like a phone call, a favorite meal, or a sunny afternoon. Surround yourself with stories of real people living with joy. Read something uplifting, watch something kind, and spend 5 minutes thinking about something you did well. Sylvia started by writing one sentence each night. Today I'm grateful for... Some days it was her cat. Other days it was hot coffee. But slowly, she noticed that her mind was shifting. She was still honest, still herself. But now when she looked ahead, she didn't see a void. She saw a day. And that made all the difference. Let's move to something more physical again. Something you can hear in your voice and see in your posture. Your energy and motivation to keep moving. Let's talk about something most people notice but often ignore. Barbara used to love working in her garden, spending hours outside pulling weeds, trimming hedges, and planting new flowers. But lately, she found herself just watching. She'd sit on the porch and tell herself, I'll do it tomorrow. But tomorrow came, and she still didn't move. It wasn't that she couldn't, it was that she didn't feel like it. And the more days passed, the heavier her legs felt, the more sluggish her mornings became, and the more she started to wonder if this was just what getting older felt like. But here's what researchers know. Your natural desire to move is one of the most powerful signs of how well and how long you'll live. When older adults stop engaging in light daily activities such as walking, cooking, gardening, standing, and stretching, it's often a sign of something deeper. A shift in energy systems, hormonal changes, or a decline in mitochondria, the body's energy engines. Even more importantly, the loss of daily movement leads to a faster decline in physical and mental health. Muscles weaken, circulation slows, metabolism drops, and it all happens quietly, over weeks and months rather than years. The most hopeful part? This pattern can be reversed. Even tiny amounts of movement can reignite your system. Barbara didn't start with long walks or exercise videos. She simply made a deal with herself. 5 minutes a day, just 5. One day, she stood while folding laundry instead of sitting. The next day, she stretched her arms before bed, and she walked to the mailbox instead of waiting for someone else to bring it in. Within a couple of weeks, something shifted. She wanted to walk longer. She found herself standing during phone calls. And one day, she picked up her gloves and headed into the garden. Not out of guilt, but out of desire. That's the shift science talks about. Not how many steps you take, but whether you still want to move. Because the body that still wants to move is a body that still wants to live. Now let's turn inward again. This time to something you can't see, but you can feel, your sense of purpose. Let's talk about something deeper than habits or routines, something that lives at the very core of a long, meaningful life, your sense of purpose. Jim had always been a provider, working for 42 years, raising 2 sons, and building a home. And when he retired at 68, he thought he'd feel free. But after a few months, the quiet got louder. He slept more, ate more, and moved less. Not because he was tired, but because he couldn't answer one quiet question. Why am I still here? He didn't feel depressed. He just faded a bit. Days blurred, joy dulled, and that spark that used to push him forward every day was gone. This is something many people over 70 feel, but rarely talk about, because no one tells you that after decades of doing and providing, you need to reintroduce yourself to purpose. But science has something hopeful to say. Studies from institutions like the University of Michigan and Rush University Medical Center have shown that older adults with a strong sense of purpose live significantly longer, with better physical health, slower cognitive decline, and more resilience in the face of illness. And the good news? Purpose doesn't have to be grand. You don't need to volunteer every day or start a new project unless you want to. You just need a reason to wake up and engage with life, something or someone you care about enough to keep showing up. Jim started small by helping his neighbor's grandson with homework once a week. At first, it felt like nothing, but over time, that boy started smiling when he saw him, asking questions and looking up to him. And Jim began to feel needed, valuable, and alive. The spark returned. Your purpose might be a relationship, a routine, or a ritual, a reason to sit on the porch and wave to people walking by. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to matter to you. When you have something or someone to care for, you take better care of yourself. And your body knows it. It responds. So if your days feel flat, ask yourself, what still matters to me? And then build from there. Now let's move on to something even simpler, but just as telling. It's not emotional or abstract. It's something you do every night, whether you notice it or not. Let's talk about your sleep. Let's finish with one of the most underestimated signs of longevity. Something we do every night, yet often overlook until it becomes a problem. Sleep. Ray had always been a light sleeper, but lately, things had gotten worse. He'd fall asleep fine, but then wake at 2 a.m. with his mind racing and his heart quietly pounding. Sometimes he'd lie awake until dawn. Sometimes he'd drift in and out. But every morning, he felt the same, drained. He told himself it was normal at his age, but deep down he knew it wasn't just a minor inconvenience. Because what he didn't know is that sleep quality is one of the clearest indicators of how well your body is aging. Poor sleep isn't just tiring, it's inflammatory. It taxes the heart, impacts blood pressure, weakens the immune system, and increases the risk of dementia, diabetes, depression, even early mortality. According to research from the National Institute on Aging, adults over 70 who report poor or fragmented sleep have significantly shorter life expectancy compared to those who sleep soundly, even if other health markers are similar. But here's the important part. You don't have to sleep like you did at 30 to sleep well now. Good sleep in your 70s looks different, but it can still be restorative. What matters is falling asleep within 30 to 45 minutes, sleeping 6.5 to 8 hours total, waking up no more than once or twice, and feeling alert within an hour of waking. If you struggle with this, don't panic. You're not alone, and your body may be sending a message. Maybe your rhythm is off. Maybe your routine needs adjusting. Maybe your nervous system is still too alert when you lay down. The good news? These patterns can be softened through light exposure, breath work, gentle nutrition, emotional release, and often through something as simple as listening to what your body's been trying to tell you. Ray made a few small changes. He started dimming the lights after dinner, took a short walk before sunset, and began doing 4-7-8 breathing before bed, just for a few minutes. His sleep didn't become perfect, but became peaceful. And for the first time in a long time, he woke up feeling rested. And that changed everything. So let's look at the full picture. The signs of longevity aren't locked in your genes. They're written in your movement, your strength, your mindset, your rhythms. They live in how fast you walk, how well you sleep, and how willing you are to keep caring. Here's a quick reminder of what we've explored today. Your walking speed, your grip strength, your outlook on life, your natural desire to move, your sense of purpose, your emotional connection to others, and your quality of sleep. Each one is a clue, a gentle invitation not just to live longer, but to live better. So take a moment. Ask yourself which of these areas feel strong and which might need a little love. Then choose one small step, one small change, because the road ahead may be longer than you think, and it's never too late to walk it with more light in your step. If this video helped you reflect, share your thoughts in the comments. What's one sign that surprised you? What's one thing you're inspired to change this week? And if you found value here, give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and join us next time as we continue exploring the quiet, powerful ways to stay strong, clear, and alive after 70 and beyond. Thank you for watching. You're not done yet, and the best may still be ahead. See you in the next one.